Hello viewers, welcome back to Australian Surf Stories. My next interview is with my long-time mate Wayne Rabbit Bartholomew. Although he needs no introduction, I would just like to say what a top bloke he is. The 1978 World Pro Surf Champion and Master Tactician who has helped shape world surfing. Please enjoy and remember to like, share and subscribe. It's important if you want more interviews and it's free. You aren't giving your lunch money away. Cheers. Good day, Rav. How you going, mate?
Yeah, Johnny, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks. We're going to have a little talk about the old days. What, 67 or something when we first met at Kirra?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I'm not quite certain. I thought it was the September holidays in 68. That's what I thought.
I think it could have been.
I think it was.
I had my first new board.
Because we actually lived at Rainbow Bay in 66, 67, and we moved to Kirra in early 68. You know, I know why I remember was the September school holidays.
There you go. Yeah.
Was because the surf was really horrible.
And you know what? It probably makes more sense seeing that my board was a 7-foot pintail.
Yeah, that's right.
You know how radical everything was happening then, you know?
Right. And mine was a 6'8" Wayne Dean cut down.
Wow, yeah. Well, so they were pretty progressive boards for the time.
Well, I mean...
68 was just 1 foot a week coming off it.
When we lived at Rainbow Bay, the great Coolangatta Tweedhead's kneeboarder, Desi Curtis, used to race me home from the school bus and take my go to the back shed, take my board out at Rainbow, because he said, "Rabbit, that's a kneeboard. That's not a surfboard." So I mean, that's how short 6'8" was in 1968. You know.
Yeah.
And you're right. The boards would come back a foot a week.
Yeah, and remember, like, because I was cruising around the factories and the showrooms at Brookie, and like before that, but
yeah.
I remember anything that was like 8-footer or something like that looked like a special board for me. Yeah,
you know,
I'm
the same. I remember going into the Joe Larkin factory with my father.
Yeah.
And I thought this day I was going to get a surfboard. And there was this board, it would have been about 8 foot, it had a paisley design. I was just in love with this board.
They were that much shorter than the other ones as well.
Yeah, it was that much shorter.
Yeah.
Because it was, you know, and remember it was 20 pounds.
Yeah.
The surfboard was 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And I remember, and we went.
That's like a week's wages.
And it was just, it didn't have and we didn't get it. And I remember walking in, I was devoed.
All right. Yeah. And so here we are, we're down at Kirra in the school holidays because you went to a New South Wales school.
I went to
and so you were the only kid down at Kirra, and then I was in New South Wales, and that's how we met.
So, because, you know, I was still going to Tweed River High.
Yep.
And it was an unrecognisable Kirra too, because there was this fantastic caravan park.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is before in 74, it got taken out.
The cyclone took everything out.
Took it out.
And that's where we stayed in the caravan park.
And it was a wide caravan park.
Yeah,
it was quite a wide. And then there was, and then the beach was on the other side of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you guys were staying in the caravan park with your mum and your brothers.
Yeah.
And we just met.
Yeah.
We started hanging
by
out.
Default, because we're the only 2 kids down the beach around the same age.
And so I just remember, like, September's often northerly, and it was a lot of northerlies.
Yeah.
So we used to go on these hunts for money.
Yep.
Always looking on the ground for money, for pinballs.
For the pennies.
And I think I took you on a tour of the pinball arcades, which was so Funland and Alf's and
everywhere.
Pool parlours.
And everybody, you know, every 20 metres there was someone going, "G'day, Rabbit, hey, Rabbit," you know, like that's what you were called, like way back then.
And everyone knew each other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, and I was a bit of a street urchin.
Mate, yeah.
I was a bit of a street urchin.
Yeah.
And,
well, I fitted right in.
You sure did. And then of course, we you know, we'd surf the onshore.
Yeah.
Then or we'd go for an early morning fish.
Yeah.
Because you had to do the, you know, I said, like, you got to get the early morning fish. Because I'd already been, the years before that, fishing off the Boys Bay brothers' shed when we lived at Tweed. So I was a very early. I knew that you'd get the brim and get the whiting and that early in the morning.
Yeah, my dad used, because I used to pick places to go and stay for the school holidays, and so he'd always had
a fishing hour.
It was you know. Then later on, it had to have fishing and surfing. You know.
That's right.
So tell us about the ill-fated.
Well, the ill-fated one was the morning we would plan that tomorrow morning was going to be perfect. I mean, obviously there was no forecast, so we said tomorrow morning, dawn patrol over.
We're just going
over by the river where there was this little kind of like it was like a little bridge that was tidal.
Yeah.
And on the lower tide, you could fish off the little. It was like a little
The
bridge.
Jack Evans boat harbour.
It was a Jack Evans
where
boat
they,
harbour.
where they sealed off the.
And of course, at that time, Jack Evans had moved from having the Snapper Rock swimming pool and the porpoise pool over to D-Bar, and he had the Sharkatarium.
Yeah.
And which was, you know, you'd never, I mean, honestly, people would never believe there was a Sharkatarium in there.
Especially now, because I go, I wonder, where is it? Where
Exactly.
was it?
It was right in that park.
Yeah.
It's called Ebenezer Park for some reason.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just the story on that one was, it's the only known time that he put a great white in with the other sharks, and the tiger sharks and bull sharks tried to jump out of the pool, and it killed everything in the pool. They said, well, that experiment...
In the aquarium, yeah.
That experiment, and I've never heard of a great white ever been in captivity ever again.
No,
yeah, I mean,
ever.
They just went...
Well, they're not even any of the other sharks, aren't they? Tigers or bulls either.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, but anyway, Sharky
so,
Jack, he didn't get called Sharky Jack for nothing.
That's right, Sharky Jack. He was a
But,
famous,
he's an important part of the story.
He was a famous character.
Yeah.
I already had the run in with him with the penguin I found. But anyway, that's another story.
That's a beauty.
That is another story.
Yeah.
So I knew Sharky Jack. I did actually know him a little bit. You know, he was a big man.
And so I'll just say why we need him, because my mum said when we're going fishing the next morning, don't take a knife. And I'm going, oh yeah, as if you're going fishing without a knife.
We've got to fillet the fish.
We're
going to catch a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to cut the bait up. And
so
then
of course I took a knife anyway.
Your mum's kitchen knife.
Yeah.
It was a good knife too.
We're in there about 20 minutes, half an hour or something. I've dropped the knife down in the rocks.
And you've dropped the knife down in the rocks.
Straight down after it.
And you've gone after it. And it was like that thing with the monkey grabbing the banana.
Yeah. But I've locked my elbow, and then I couldn't get it out of the rocks.
And you actually were locked.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things where I was going, well, just let go of the knife. And you went, no, I can't.
Well, I wasn't game to let go of the knife. I'd found it.
You'd located the knife, but you'd gone down to your elbow, and you're stuck. Like, you're literally stuck. And now you're in the prone position because
I'm laying down, like stretched as far as I could possibly reach. That's why I was stoked. So everything's tensed.
And the tide's coming in.
Yes.
And it's about half tide now.
Yeah.
And we realised the water's starting to lap up to where you are already.
Yeah.
And we went, this is a critical situation. And
it's not pretty, and I can't get my arm out.
No, and so you're stuck in you've got about half an hour before you're underwater.
We didn't really know.
We didn't know, but we knew the tide was coming in.
Better go and get some
help. And I knew what it looked like at high tide. It was rushing over there. It was under 2 foot of water at high tide.
Yeah.
Like you were well and truly submerged.
Yeah.
At high tide. The submersible.
I would have been, yeah.
You would have been a submersible.
Drowned.
You would have been the
knife would have paled into insignificance.
The knife would have been nothing. You would have been bait.
I may well have ripped my arm out, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. So I've run up, and it's still only 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was early.
We'd only been there just a minute. The sun hadn't come up.
Yeah, no, it was very early.
So I'm over to the Sharkatarium, and I'm banging on the front doors, and I don't know where Jack lives in there, and it's a big place.
And you wouldn't know if he's even going to be there.
No. I mean,
it's just a one-off.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a place. It's not a place where you live.
You wouldn't know. There's no one else to ask for help.
There was no one else. No one went to D-Bar. There was no surface. There was not a human being anywhere else. And I'm banging on the door, and after a few minutes, there's Sharky Jack, and he's opened the door, and I said, "Mate, my mate, he's down here. He's going to drown. He's underwater. He's dropped his knife." Told him the story. And he's Sharky Jack, and he's come down with a crowbar.
With the crowbar.
And he's walked down towards you with the crowbar, and he's a big man.
Yeah.
And next minute, a few big effort, and he's just moved it enough for you to pull your arm out.
Still with the knife.
And the knife.
My mum didn't find out about that for 20 years.
20 years later, the story could be told after the statute of knife limitations had passed.
Yeah.
But that kind of bonded us as mates. It was one of those adventures.
That and the pennies and
the adventure that nearly went wrong.
Well, tell us about the penguin, because that is funny.
Well, the penguin's a classic.
Yeah.
Again, I was walking home from school.
This was a couple of years later, because you had the in with Jack now.
Now, this is a year later.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around Kirra Point, again on the search for money.
Yeah.
Looking for anything, because nowadays if you find 20 cents, big deal. Back then, it was a morning
huge.
of the pinballs.
Huge.
You'd get the games up, you'd sell the games, you'd get a thick shake. we had a racket going, right? So anyway, I'm walking around the Kirra Point. I looked down the rocks and I said, my God, there's a penguin. A penguin at Kirra. Like, this is a strange situation.
Yeah.
But it was a fairy penguin. Not a big penguin, it was a fairy penguin.
Even more so.
Oh, a very cute little penguin. And I instantly thought, Sharky Jack.
He might be interested.
He might buy this off me. So I've gone down the stairs.
Any money in this guy.
And of course, this is when Kirra Point was Pacific Highway number 1.
Yeah.
There was no back highways.
No.
This is where the highway went, around the beautiful Kirra Point.
Yeah.
I've gone down there and I've grabbed this penguin and I've got it like this. And I've come up the stairs and I'm on the side of the road now hitchhiking with a penguin in under my arm.
How big is he?
It's a little baby penguin, but still big enough to...
Like a foot or something?
A couple of feet.
Yeah.
A fairy penguin.
Yeah.
Cute little thing,
Yeah.
but the thing's flapping and cutting me,
Yeah.
Like it's panicking,
Yeah, as it would.
It's already...
He hadn't been held for ransom before.
But I'm thinking it's already thousands of miles away from where it should be. So I'm sort of thinking I'm saving it, right?
Yeah. Well, you were.
I think I was.
With a reward.
Except...
Yeah.
What I didn't know was that it had escaped from SeaWorld.
The plot gets thicker.
It does. So it wasn't thousands of miles away from its migration. It wasn't about to get eaten by a polar bear. So
more like we hitchhiking on the Pacific Highway.
But the best part was that along comes this VW, and it was Mark.
Oh yeah.
And Mark had been at the time, I believe, experimenting with hallucinogenics.
Indulging.
And on this day, and we've jumped in his car in the front seat
You
of
and your mate.
me and my mate, and it's flapping away. And Mark's looked over it and said, "Where are you guys going?"
Oh, God.
I said, Sharky Jack's.
Where else?
Of course. So he's driven us over there. Once again, I'm banging on the front door. Sharky Jackson has come out and he's looked at me. He's gone, oh,
It's just a fairy penguin.
He said, no. He said, you'll be up for a reward. He said,
oh.
Yeah, no. And I said, oh, God, insane. I might get $20 here. This is
like
huge. That'll get me through the whole summer.
Yeah.
And so he said, be here tomorrow morning. We'll get the Gold Coast Bulletin and the Daily News, photos. Oh, no, this is incredible.
Unreal.
Next morning, there's a photo of Sharky Jack in the paper handing the fairy penguin back to SeaWorld.
He's done you up.
There's no reward.
So,
anyway,
it may well have been one, but...
I didn't get it.
You didn't get it.
And that was the end of the penguin
But
story.
anyway, so you got the story.
I got the story, but I got nothing out of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, Sharky Jack definitely knew me from that experience with you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, so anyway,
classic was in the paper.
That was a classic.
Yeah.
Just classic times,
Yeah, no, it sure was.
So next, there've been a few more holidays, and you guys came regularly.
Yeah. That's where we were coming after
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And so, and the caravan park's still there.
Yeah.
And so all the time, but then comes the end of 1969.
Yeah.
And my mum's divorce came through, settlement came through, and she decided, and plus, there was a love interest and he wanted the whole family to move to Sydney.
Well, I never knew that one.
Yeah, this is the story. I've never told this, and Mum mightn't be
But
happy.
anyway, you did just over that.
But anyway, so we moved down. We actually moved to Sydney.
To do what? Yeah. It's
Curl.
It's curly there. Yeah.
So we got an apartment at Curl.
Yeah.
And at the time, there's Mum and the girls.
Yeah.
And what happened was that they just went on these incredible, Sydney Harbour cruises, Taronga Park Zoo, Kirribilli. I mean, all the classic
And
Sydney.
you kept coming hanging out
And
with
I just went, I'm happy to just go on my little way here.
Yeah.
And I said, I know Johnny Harris, I know the family. They go that way, and I'll just walk from Curl over the hill
to DY.
Yeah. And I had a fantastic all through January of 1970 now. January 1970.
Well, that's right. And I just finished fourth form.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so had I.
Yeah.
And so it was just a classic holiday, but for me, a classic insight into DY in the summer of 69, 70, and saw it all. And met all the locals. Got welcomed really, and then you took me to North Narrabeen for the first time. I remember being in Narrabeen. DY Terry Fitzgerald used to come by in DY all the time. And and all the classic locals. Peter Crawford and then there was the Jimmy Sass and all that whole crew. Russell Lewis, Runner. They were the young Groms and. Really classic crew, and you're surfing surfing those incredible seaweedy shore breaks, right? And then the swell came and got DY Point, which was a real challenging wave. I mean, it had a real mystique about it.
The point. I mean, you see it now, and it just looks like a little tiny crop of rocks.
Back then, it was like the big deal.
Especially.
I mean, I remember like. The crew jumping off the rocks. I think I might have done the paddle out because it was pretty.
At that
pretty
age,
intimidating. Pretty intimidating. But it's a challenging wave.
Oh, it really is.
You couldn't call it a perfect reef.
Oh no, I never. I don't think. I think that the mystique, as you say, and how it's in folklore. The DY guys is because of how heavy it is, and it's like a birthright. When you're growing up there, and to cop your floggings out there. To graduate from the basin to the point, and. When you after you travel and you go back and have a look at it, it's just like a little rock sticking out.
Just a little outcrop, isn't it? Just fluffs up. But then again, there are certain swell directions, aren't there?
Oh
That hit it properly.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know. I mean, I was only 17, 18 when I left there. So. I'm not an expert on it. Plus, it wasn't my favourite.
No,
the lefts on my backhand anyway. The lefts
at the basin. There was always a left in that. Always a left.
So good for
me. And I came from. We don't have a lot of lefts.
That's right. Yeah, so
that was great for me.
First go going lefts.
It was great for me.
Yeah,
but also just that Sydney power.
Yeah.
And then the day, and I still remember very clearly the day you said we're going to go to North Narrabeen, and you took me to North Narrabeen. All I remember.
We caught some bus, did we?
Yeah, we caught the bus. But then we had to walk over this big field, and I'm thinking that field is where that the caravan park is now, mate.
Well, we must have the bus must have gone to the main of Narrabeen, and then we've had to cross over from Pittwater Road.
That's what we had to do. I remember we were walking over this big field, and then we got up the top there and looked down, and it was about a perfect 3 foot.
And it was fantastic.
It was so fantastic, and I've loved North Narrabeen ever since that day.
The guys that were just so they might not have been welcoming to everybody, but they were welcoming to me, and you I knew them from early on, and they were always fantastic, all of them. And the older guys.
But see, what had happened also was that the Narrabeen guys came to Coolangatta the previous 2 summers. And I'm talking, I got to know Tony Hardwick, Cole Smith, the Hogaveens, Fatty L. Hunt, Greg Hodges,
Hodges.
Greg Hodges, that whole crew, and the Grom was Steve Cooney.
Right.
And I got to hang out with Steve Cooney, and they lived in the same flats as my sister. Victory Flats in Coolangatta.
Johnny Bryant and I hitchhiked to from DY to Coolangatta.
Wow.
In 1970 holidays in between Christmas and New Year from Adair. Started off sleep down the beach.
Wow.
To go to the Central Coast for the night.
Yep.
To you wouldn't go to Queensland, and so we've ended up hitching to Coolangatta.
That's insane.
I had $10, Johnny had $12.
Wow.
And he gave me $1, so we had $11 each. Actually, that's his board out there in the lounge room. And but we made it, and we stayed one night, and we bumped into Cole Smith and Fatty L, and they were staying in those units.
That's right.
And Cole lent me 6-foot Kirra, and I went, and Johnny, we went and took turns at Rainbow Bay in between Christmas and New Year, and there was no one out.
No.
2-foot perfect waves.
Yeah.
No one out, and we had an unreal surf, and that Keo went fantastic.
Oh, no, well, that Keo was...
Well, remember the board?
Well, I do, because Cole, Michael Peterson and I, we used to sit there mesmerised by how good Cole Smith surfed Greenmount Point on his backhand.
Yeah.
He was the first guy.
And so he would have been on that board.
On that board.
Yeah.
And he was the first guy.
So
He used to do the deep bottom turn. He'd go up, and he had nearly a knock-knee style in his backhand, and he'd get the board beyond 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And he was the first guy I ever see whip it round and drive down the face.
Yeah.
And so he could do that like 8 times in a row.
And that's what they're after now.
That's what they're doing
They're trying to do now. They hold your rail longer. And
precisely. He was doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder Tommy Carroll...
Only 53 years ago.
no wonder Tommy Carroll, that was his mentor. That was Tommy Carroll's guy.
Yeah, he was.
His backhand was better than his forehand.
Coles?
Oh,
yeah. Some of those shots
his backhand, I mean, I'd seen later, in that 69 also, me and my mate Bucky Perry were walking in Greenmount Point one day and saw this guy at Rainbow doing these figure eights, and I just went, that could only be Wayne Lynch. So I'd seen, I reckon, the 2 best goofy footers maybe Australia's nearly ever produced.
Yeah.
In Wayne Lynch and Cole Smith.
Yeah.
Surfing my home break.
Yeah.
They were both unbelievable. Different.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Wayne
they
Lynch,
were
Wayne
different,
Lynch
and-
was just poetry in motion.
But I didn't know Wayne, but I knew Colin and
that's
Fatty
right.
L. So I mean, he lent me the board, and that board went fantastic. And I went home and got a 4'9" off of Terry Fitz.
Wow.
Twin
well,
fin.
that's right. Yeah. That would have been the Green Oliver.
Well, I asked what size, and Terry told me.
That's right. Well, Terry, came up to Queensland for a stint. Around that same time.
Yep.
Because he actually got into the Australian titles through the Queensland team.
Oh, right.
Because you can imagine New South Wales.
There was no state of origin capable.
No, but state of origin. I mean, he was an insanely good surfer.
Oh yeah.
But it was there wasn't a depth in Queensland. Like we had Druin, the Dean brothers, Graham Black.
Yeah.
But Sydney had.
Back then.
I mean, Nat, Midget, Ted Spencer,
I had this classic
John Otten, Baddy Chalor.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just
they
full on.
were all there.
Keith Paul.
Yeah.
Ted
Spencer,
the best surfers in the world.
Yeah. Well, the Brookvale was the capital of the board making in the world then, and so I was so lucky to go there. But anyway, so they wouldn't even give us floor space. It was that crowded, like in between Christmas and New Year.
Victory Flats,
mad. But Cole lent us his board, and we went and had the Unreal Surf. So then we slept on the footy, the Aussie Rules Oval there at Cooley. And got up in the morning and hitched home. And, and I think the Tweedhead Cobbers pulled us in and give us a once over and made us catch the train. But we had to catch
from Wollongbar.
Yeah, but they scared us that much. We had to hitchhike still to get to Wollongbar.
Yeah, that's right.
We only had $3 left by then, and we could only go as far as Coffs Harbour and then started hitching again.
Wow!
And
the train fare only got you to Coffs.
Yeah, but the coppers had scared us. But
because
you wouldn't do that now. Like,
there's no way a young kid would do that now.
15-year-old little surfy kids.
You wouldn't do it now.
Couldn't, not for a long time. But yeah, that was a classic adventure. But there was another tie-in,
that North Narrabeen connection.
Yeah.
But I still remember that day, though, very clearly. We went there, and it was a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
World-class wave.
Yep.
And I saw those guys I knew.
And
it was really cool.
Yeah, they make you feel good. It was, a big community, not just.
Well, they didn't welcome everyone, as you said.
No way. I didn't even know that.
And they still don't.
No, I think they're worse. But I didn't know that for a long time. I thought everybody, and plus, I was a bit cheeky out there, but it didn't matter, and you just slip out on the river mouth side, the right hand is what they call that. On the
alley.
The alley, you slip out there, and then you're on the inside on the left.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's perfect. And
there's always a little channel
so
out there.
You weren't going out and paddling inside. You were just on the inside at the start.
You would have been so on.
And I was straight on it. And,
I got to be good friends with the guy I really connected with was Wicker.
Yeah,
Tony Hardwick. He was such a great guy.
Friends with him. It was too. I knew him from back those days, but I still keep in touch. He's in England at the moment.
Oh, unreal.
Yeah.
See, Terry Fitzgerald was different. He was a real superstar.
Yeah,
he was a superstar. But him and Peter Glasson did pick me up from Kirra and took me to my first away event.
Oh, right.
Matara.
Yeah.
I went down in a VW with Terry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
And I was the Grom.
Yeah.
And I got down there. It was
unreal.
8 foot Newcastle Beach, just so intimidating. I didn't get out. I didn't even make it out the back, and I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so. You've never
I did
seen
only
anyone.
like when you were young. Like
We were really young.
1970 still. Or
Yeah,
something
70.
Like that,
It was 70.
Yeah.
And
So
I
a lot
went,
happened in a short time.
Yeah, a lot happened in a short time.
Yeah.
I didn't get out the back. I was the happiest person ever to come dead last in a tournament, and I was sitting in the grandstand, and I tell you, underneath the grandstand was a $20 note.
Oh no!
And I found it. And I found every pinball parlour in Hunter Street. Had the best weekend ever, and came home with $15.
Oh no!
After having thick shakes and chips the whole weekend, and lived on that for the rest of the summer. So I mean, that's the classic times. Eh?
No, that was great. And then you went on. So. What do you reckon? We'll just. What's your favourite year? What was your favourite year on tour and everything like that?
Oh,
do you reckon?
Oh well, I mean,
obviously '78.
Well, I mean, first of all, those early years going to Australian titles and 72 North Narrabeen.
The build up to it.
The build up to it was amazing, and then the '73 to '76, the Queensland titles was the big deal.
Yeah.
Like before the Stubbies Classic, you win your state title.
Yeah.
You were king of the jungle.
See, I lost it all then because I moved to Byron Bay.
Yeah.
And learn how to make boards properly. You know, I'd already done a couple of years at Brookie, but that was like the university, you know.
Yeah.
And and then learn it on those surf and Lennox and in the morning. And,
magical!
And it was just unbelievable, you know. So
Byron was magical in the early '70s.
When it was so good, you know. '74, I moved up there and. There wasn't even anything to eat after dark, you know, let alone what it is now.
No, it was just a real sleepy little...
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't long before that. It was a whaling town.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, seriously, Byron was, it's a soulful place, but, they had on the beach, they had a whaling station next to an abattoir.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know those years that you're talking about with the contests and the Australian titles and everything like that? Because I left DY as the Northern Beaches junior champion.
Yeah.
And then the first one I went in was a Matara.
Yep.
In '76. I said I'll go in one to see how I go. If and I ended up getting equal 7th with an MP.
Yep.
And so I went, I'll go in some more. But I really did notice I didn't know anyone. Like Russell and Terry Clark and that were just part of the thing. And I went, what are these Groms? How come they know everybody? I didn't know hardly anyone, you know.
Yeah, from going to Byron.
From going to Byron. So it was a trade-off, but
so those are great build-up, and obviously big rivalries with MP and Queensland titles was just a classic, and those Australian titles they were great away trips. Yeah, and then along came the Stubbies Classic, you know, and really
'77. So that was really the first one.
That was the beginning. I mean, that was the beginning of the proper tour.
Yeah. And
really, it was just it was just a caravan of guys. Just when I'm going on the big.
Well, I didn't get in the Stubbies one, but I went to the Allen Oak was the second one, you know, and that was, and then
Phillip Island,
and then Bells and the Coke,
and that was the beginning of it, of the real tour. I mean, obviously the Coke Classic and it's a 2SM Surfabout. They were in 74 to start. 74, 76.
So they had 75 and 76, did they on that one?
Oh, they had. Well, it started in 74.
No, I remember the 74 one with Nat out at the
exactly at the Bower.
Yeah,
that was insane.
Big Bower,
and then the next year 75, Wayne Lynch won it. At North Narrabeen.
And
I mean, I don't know what year it was, but there was a year where because the trials and that for that.
Well, came. I think that was 77.
I don't know what year it was, but there was one trials where the one where there was the 96 man heat.
Yeah, well, you said.
And they're all out there. It was just a go for it. And the one guy that stood out of everyone was Stuart Entwistle, even amongst 96.
The old Twiz.
The Twiz.
I wonder what he was doing.
He was
hanging fibres.
No, he was just gyrating.
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
movement. Like he was such a radical surfer that he stood out.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
well, they had to
they had to pick one guy from an all-in 96 man heat. I used to call it a 200 man heat, but it wasn't 200. It was definitely the whole field.
Yeah, and that was the trials.
It was a free-for-all.
So everybody was in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone was in the same heat.
Wow. Everyone who was in
everyone who was in the trial stage just sent them out for an hour.
Yeah.
And over an hour, the two guys that did stand.
Everyone that was in the trials, but then did they have seated guys as well?
They didn't. There was the invites.
Oh, invites. Right.
See, there was 23 invites in one spot for the trials.
Oh yeah, it was MAD there.
It was mad, and I mean the two guys that stood out. I remember were Stuart Entwistle and Cole Smith from Newcastle.
Yeah,
they just so radical.
Well, he won that first Matara that I went in.
Cole Smith from
Newcastle.
He was.
And then he went on.
He was an awesome surfer. Awesome surfer.
78. I was in the Newcastle finals, within the state finals, and then the Australian finals at Margaret River. And actually, I've got the picture. We'll slot that in. And Cole won the Open, and Tommy Carroll won the juniors, and that was the last time either of them went in an amateur contest. Right. You know, they both went to Hawaii. And,
that's right.
And I went to Hawaii that year too. But
76 was the last Australian title I went in.
Yeah.
And then after 77 was just,
Well, that was the first one that I went in. The first and last. It was the only one I've ever been in. And but it was fantastic, and to make the final too. But it was a good team. Yeah. We stayed with Dougal and Nick Carroll.
Oh wow.
Glenn, Rob, and I. And so that was a great time.
Yeah, so I mean, they were just it was just.
And then 78 was your year.
Yeah. Well, 77 I got second to Sean Thompson in the world title.
Right, and so by then you worked it out. Everybody, you guys had worked it out.
That's right.
So you knew that there was a rating system and stuff like that. Because the first year with PT, it just happened.
Well, it was a countback. In October. Fred Hemmings did a call around and said, do you want to be on the tour? Let's make a tour.
Yep.
And then also decided to count back that year. And PT and Ian Cairns had gone to South Africa. They'd gone to, I think, Brazil. They'd gone to some events.
Yeah.
And so they were so far ahead when they'd done the points.
Yeah.
That it was really out of them two for the world title.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because no one else had travelled.
Kanga got a bit unlucky then.
Oh, it definitely was. I thought it was definitely his. Because he was so strong in Hawaii.
Oh, he snapped back.
I think his script was at E1.
So anyway, by 78, it had worked itself out.
PT was, Mr. Consistent.
Yeah,
he was Mr. Consistent.
Oh, yeah.
He got a lot of seconds, but he was very consistent.
Yeah. No, worthy world champion.
Yeah.
He was always there.
He was always there.
And so by 78, though, you'd figured out what you had to do.
I'd figured out in 77, I didn't even go to Brazil still.
Yeah.
They counted every result, and I didn't even go to Brazil.
Yeah.
I went off making a movie with Harry Hodge, being on the run, but because you were still trying to just have enough money to win to get to the next event.
Yeah, but also so that was at Mauritius, wasn't it? Being on the run. So who's not gonna go? Yeah. Who's not gonna go? I'll give you a free trip.
Well, that paid for my trip.
Because.
But it paid for my trip to South Africa. It paid,
Yeah.
But then I won in South Africa, and I had to hand my check over to him. So I do regret not going to Brazil that year.
Yeah.
But having said that, Sean Thompson was a very worthy world champion.
Well, he might have made him harder the next year anyway. So things have a way of working themselves out.
Sean was, he was like the Kelly Slater of our era. There's no doubt about it. He was the glamour. Surfer from South Africa.
His tube riding.
It was unbelievable.
In that free ride thing and everything.
It was unbelievable.
What year was free ride?
Oh, 75.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just went up to Rick Nielsen's memorial yesterday, and it was on the end of Britannia Avenue, and I remember I got fond memories because the Nielsens lived there. My mum we lived in Britannia Avenue at the time, and I remember Bill Delaney making a free ride. He said, "Pick me up in Britannia Avenue."
Oh,
and I just the other 2 days ago, I found the house that we used to live in. It's still there.
Wow.
It's all high rises everywhere.
Yeah. The house is still there.
The house is still there. It really brought back a lot of memories to me, you know.
Wow.
So, but anyway.
Yeah, and so and in '78, obviously, that's going to be an important year. And so, what year did you retire?
Well, I retired in. It was when they changed the tour to finish halfway after the Cape Classic, and I retired there as halfway through 1987.
Oh, right.
But see, what happened was that I
12 year run.
Yeah, it was a good tour. Yeah. It's at the time. I mean, like it was funny. Like I you know, when I got the whole Dream Tour thing happening, I was sitting there with Tommy Carroll, and it was about 8 foot cloud break one day, you know. And we're sitting there, and he'd just gone out and just carved it up, right? In a break in the action, right?
Yep.
And I was sitting there, and we're dangling our feet over. And I said, "Oh, Tom," I went, "Geez, this Dream Tour, geez, it was made for you, mate." I said, "Geez, you would have done well." Yeah. And he turned around to me, he said, "Bugs," he said, "I wish I didn't listen to him because what happened with them was old. You were so old and in the mid-30s. Because remember our day,
23.
No, that's right.
You know,
that's what people don't realise. Like surfing was like swimming.
Yeah.
Like you were getting called old at 22.
Yeah.
Like
I won one contest in '83. Beat Luke Egan in the final and Glenn in the semis. And I was 28, and they called me a mature, determined veteran.
Well, that's right.
At 28, you know, but I was only hitting these straps.
I know.
And then I just went,
but surfing was like I remember, like Nat and Midget won their world titles as teenagers.
Yeah,
surfing was nearly old. Like by 24, you were so ancient.
Yeah.
So when I had a big run with Tom Carroll for the '84 world title, and I was 30.
Yeah.
I was 29 going on 30. And I remember going into Burley, and they were calling me Wayne Fossil Bartholomew. And then, you know,
at 30, I put out to pasture. What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
And you're so not old.
No, not at all.
You're just coming into your.
Look at Kelly now.
Oh,
you know,
I mean,
and if somebody had given us some bit of advice on diet and exercise and stuff, because all you ever did was surf.
Yeah, but it was more than that. It was a mindset. Like I remember one of the judges, and I won't mention his name.
Yeah.
When I went for the Stubbies final, you know, I was ranked number 1. I came into the Australian leg to finish the world title that year, and I was ranked number 1. And before the Stubbies, and a sitting judge said, the worst thing that can happen for pro surfing is that a 30-year-old rabbit wins the world title. And I lost a 3-2 decision with that guy on the panel.
He'd made his mind up.
But the whole world had.
Too old at 30.
So, and I did find that after that year, I ended up number 2 to Tom Carroll, which was still a good thing.
Yeah.
And then Sean did exactly the same the next year. Had to run it.
Yep.
And he got second to Tom Carroll.
Yep.
And really, that was the last year I contended.
Yep.
And I found that if I wasn't contending, I wasn't that interested. I was just making up the numbers. The next year I was number 15.
Until you retired and you went, oh, hang on.
Well, you know, we didn't. I called it walking the plank into oblivion.
Yeah.
Like you just, you know.
What are you going to do?
I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, a lot of you know, professional athletes find the transition back to what I call civilian life.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
But you know, there was
all the footy players.
It's so difficult to come back to the real world.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because there's no preparation. I mean, it's such a singular solo sport, surfing as well. There's you've got no team. They've got teams now.
And in the mid 80s, there wasn't a lot of opportunity.
No.
There was nothing going on.
No.
Like the industry was small.
Yeah.
And actually, again, that was 10 years. Like, I mean, I started my surf academy at Greenmount.
Yeah.
And the only people that came were Jay Phillips, Shane Bevan, Butto, and none of them had any money.
Yeah.
Because it was back in the day, like it was 15, again, everything we did was 10 to 15 years before its time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, his dad went, am I going to give Rabbit $10 to throw a little thing over the falls? No,
no, it's probably thought it was a scam.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's just getting money.
And so I just morphed that I became president of Snapper Rocks.
Yep.
And I morphed that whole thing into a junior development program, which ended up being really succcesual, but no money in it.
Right.
Know?
Yeah, but and then worked your way up to CEO of the ASP.
Well, first of all, I started a little rabbit circuit.
Yep.
Up here, and I mean, Jake, Richie Lovett. I mean, there was some good surfers came to it that got their start
from out of other areas.
Yeah, but because the APSA had fallen, and I started a little rabbit circuit up here.
Yep.
And then that was carried me through. That's where I had the Kirra Pro and Perfect Surf.
Oh,
that was
that was incredible. And it was like you were blessed.
I had a 4-year run where I got Perfect Kirra with no waiting period.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Cycling.
No, that was
Bang.
unbelievable.
That was insane.
I was coming up from Lennox.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up Kelly Slater came and Rob Machado, Sonny Garcia, Martin Potter.
I mean, Shane Beshing got the perfect.
Exactly. And that was the 4th year. And by then, though, I talked Gordon into making it a CT. Because Kelly had said, come on, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It started out as a $5,000 event, then went to a QS 2000, or whatever it was back then, WQS 2 star, I remember. And then the next year we did the same, and Kelly and the boys went, this has got to be, and I went to Gordon and he went, yeah, let's do a CT.
Yeah.
And I had the same run at J Bay.
Yeah.
I had 4 years in a row, perfect surf, with not a minute to spare, not a minute to spare.
So you running that Billabong on there?
I ran it.
For
Sharon's event at J Bay, and then again, Gordon and Greville Mitchell said, let's make this a CT.
Yeah.
And that was the year that it was, the first year we had it was Kelly Slater and Taylor Knox in the final, with all the thousands of dolphins coming through, and it made worldwide headlines, and that it was established.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I came back as a coach for the national coach.
Yeah.
And I started, in a way, they recognised what I was doing, and they, the rabbit circuit became the ACC, the Australian Championship Circuit. I brought the events into the thing. Then I became the national coaching director, and it was taking away all those great fun Australian teams. France in '92, Brazil in '94, where we won gold both years, and then '96 in California, America won, and then the last one I did was '98 in Portugal. And Australia won, and then I took on the ASP.
Yeah, well, you'd certainly done your apprenticeship.
Yeah, I done my apprenticeship. I started at the bottom again.
Yeah,
I really said at the very bottom, grassroots, and just built it again.
Yeah. And then you had the idea. Well, you had best 2 waves.
Oh well, all that. I mean, the whole Dream Tour thing. I mean, we were doing the Billabong challenges at the same time.
Yep.
But just before that, and a lot of ideas came from that, and a lot of ideas came from also. With the 2SM Coca-Cola Surfer Bout, with Graham Cash used to run that. It was a 2-week waiting period.
Yep.
The best time of year in Sydney.
Well, they were
mobile. All that, all those, that whole experience. And I said, we've got to go to the best surf breaks with the best surfers at the best time of year. And then I thought, I actually did a survey, and I went, no, there's something wrong. And I got every result for 2 years, and I said, it's that third wave. I said, because third wave, I worked out that the third wave was averaging less than 5.
Right.
And I went, that's not good enough.
And they're struggling.
I said, but that started affecting the second wave.
Yeah.
Because they're grovelling around for that third wave.
Yeah. They're thinking about 3 waves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this 3-wave tap to the beach. I said, no, it's got to go.
Yeah.
And then the jet ski assist came with that. Yeah. And I had so many skeptics.
They got it a little easier, let's say. The best 4 waves, and and out you go.
Best 4 waves.
6 to 8 foot bells.
Exactly.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Even getting,
getting your quota.
Yeah, you couldn't get your quota.
If you got 4, you were through.
Yeah, pretty much.
So those ideas were sort of swirling around in my head, and it worked. I mean, Kelly Slater. Like when I took over at ASP, this is what happened. Like Kelly had retired at the end of '98 and said, "I don't want to do any more crap surf."
Yep.
Andy Irons had signed up for Derek Hines' Rebel Tour. Yeah, Derek had a Rebel Tour going.
I've got to talk with. I've had a talk with.
Yeah, because he fronted me at a surfer pole and said, this is coming, and I went, well, I can only do my best and try to hang in there.
So, do you think that'll ever happen again?
Well, the reality is that you'd seriously need a good $100 or $200 million to do it properly. Right. You really would.
So the guy at the moment is the best man for the job.
Yeah, because I mean, in all reality,
he's our only billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. It was the billionaire that the angel money that me and Pete Whitaker on a Friday over having a few drinks used to dream of the angel money landing on our shoulders. Yeah. I mean, of course, it landed on Kelly Slater's shoulders. No,
yeah,
but. No, like to do it properly, you'd have to be able to be prepared to burn through a couple of $100 million.
So,
and also the surfers are contracted.
Right.
They're contracted.
Yeah. No,
they'd be breaking contracts.
Let's say we stick with the status quo, but it's they've got no highlights this year. I mean, you could say in argument that they were unlucky with waves. But it's happened. They've been unlucky, but it tends to roll on bad luck. So how could you see, and I know there's no quick fix, but...
oh, no, I don't want to go there on this.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to predict what should happen.
No.
I don't want to go public with it.
No, fair enough.
I mean, I got my thoughts, but you're right about one thing. There's, like, even J-Bay, there's a swell just before the event. That's just happened a real lot this year. There's been really good swells happening before the event.
Yeah, so
it's just one of those.
There's no highlights this year.
I know, it's just been it's been a struggle.
And then they've had the controversy with the judging, and
well, one thing when I did take over, I mean, one thing when I came to the table, like ASB, when I went to Cabo San Lucas for a SEMA conference, and they just went, hey, ASB's is the worst brand in surfing. You'll be lucky that it's still alive at the end of the year. So this was real, and that's what Derek really had it shot at, because there was such unrest and unhappiness. But I got all the surfers together, and I said, tell me your grievances. Like, let's hear.
Yep.
And the very first thing I worked on, I said, I'm going to work from the bottom up, and the credibility of the whole sport is the judging.
Yep.
And I got a really tough head judge in Perry Hatchett.
Yep.
And I said, we got to get this right. I'm going to listen to the surfers. Let's work out what the criteria should be. We'll add a contemporary judging criteria, a progressive judging criteria, with the best ways, and make it attractive for the best surfers. We want the best surfers to want to be on tour.
Was the surfers' concern number one the judging?
Yeah.
Number two the waves?
Yeah.
So they were over, because they build not stadiums.
Well, it was summer stadiums.
Yeah. On the beaches.
It was bums on bleachers.
Manly and
Huntington Beach and all in the middle of summer.
And shit waves.
And I went, no, it's not the endless summer.
Yeah.
It's the endless autumn.
Yeah. We need good waves.
The best waves.
Surfers do. The
best waves are in autumn all around the world.
Yeah.
And so we had to really, and I mean, I used to even listen. I'd go and listen to the fishermen in Chopu, and they go, on the wane of the moon, and I'm really trying to get it right.
Yeah, well, you certainly cracked it with those other spots.
Kirra
here and then J Bay.
We had a very good run for years on everywhere. We got great surf.
Yeah.
And then we had Andy Irons and Kelly Slater.
Yeah, the greatest for all.
We built it, and they just took it to the.
Yeah.
We just built it. Yeah. They took it. They made the dream tour happen. And then you had nipping at their heels was the next Mick Fennings and Joel Parkinson, Taj Burrow, and of course then CJ Hobgood and Shane Beshan and Rob Machado.
They seem to be more waves with better luck with the waves.
Oh, really good. We had really good luck with the waves.
And see, they've thrown in a couple of average spots. Let's say a couple of average spots and the wave pool, and then when your other spots don't turn on, it just culminates in a very average year, and that's what's happened this year. I think.
It's just, as I said, they haven't had...
Like maybe one highlight
we're really looking
forward them out, but...
Well, we're really looking forward to a really good J-Bay and really good Chopu.
Yeah.
And we still might get really good J-Bay. I've seen the forecast that they're going to get some surf.
Yeah.
And that's an insane...
The first day.
That's an insane venue.
Unbelievable.
And then Chopu will be unbelievable.
Yeah. So. Hopefully they do.
I want WSL to succeed. I want it to be there.
Yeah, it's the only
because, the alternative, people don't understand how you can talk rebel tour and that, but throw you 100 million on the table.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah, no, that's what I mean. You've got surfing's got a billionaire. Best like sticking with him.
Well, you need, that's what I said about.
You've got
that's what I said
billionaire.
about 3 years ago. I said Dirk's got to win every argument. Because seriously, I mean, it's
just like how many other times.
Well, he does believe
throughout the history of everything. They just need some waves,
and then just need some waves.
You know,
I mean, he loves. He's obviously, he's embraced it all.
Yeah,
the whole thing, and they're doing some good things with environmental messages and all that. But just we just need a bit of luck with the surf.
Yeah. All right, mate. Well, that's been fantastic. So I guess we'll just go and play golf tomorrow.
Sounds good, mate.
Cheers, Rab. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks, Johnny. Good luck, mate.